the Wizard had another story that I seen again. I'm just like, I wasn't the biggest fan of it. And that is the story with Elaine's boyfriend, Nelson, which Putty still hasn't called her back. So she's still seeing other guys. I like that in this season, every guy she's seen besides Putty, there's always like a follow-up, like, what's up with Putty? Oh, hasn't called me in 3 weeks. Oh, I think his answering machine is broke or whatnot. So now Elaine's dating this guy named Nelson. Young guy with glasses. And if they didn't do this storyline, I really would not have thought anything of it. But the whole episode, everybody's questioning. Elaine's trying to find out what his nationality is, ethnicity is. And people kept thinking he was black. I would have never... I don't know. I just wasn't the biggest fan of the storyline. It was weird. I mean, yes, he looked a little different, but people were just jumping to the conclusion that he was black. I mean, if it was like something else and wasn't jumping to that, then maybe I wouldn't be, so like mad about it. But because of that angle, that I was just like, I don't get this one. In the end, though, he was just white. But I guess there was a scene in the episode wherever he got upset and saying like that, what's wrong with going out with an interracial couple, or actually said. So that's what made Elaine think for sure that he was African American, but he's not. He said that because Elaine was taking him to all of these like Spanish restaurants and whatnot, and with all like these questions she was asking him, he thought she was Hispanic. So it ends up that they're both a bunch of white people, and are like, all right, cool, whatever. So, but that was a strange story. I didn't get that story. The other stories weren't too bad. George's story was that he just recently got in touch with the Rosses again. They called him about some event that was going on for the foundation. Of course, he had been avoiding them for quite some time. He also thinks the Rosses don't like him, and he thinks that the Rosses think that he purposely killed Susan. So to get out of going to this event, he lies and says that he just put a lease in on a place in the Hamptons. Well, of course, they see George throughout the episode. He was actually seen getting a hot dog from some guy that was played by the same guy who played Kramer's friend FDR. And FDR was a hot dog vendor, so chances were it was FDR giving George the hot dog. So then they started getting curious, and then they ran into Elaine at the coffee shop, and they even said something to her, and then she said that George doesn't own a place isn't leasing a place in the Hamptons. So of course the Ross decided to play a little bit of mind games. Before that, though, Elaine had been taking care of Jerry's mail while he was out of town. So, but George caught Elaine at Jerry's apartment checking on the mail. So then, to cover up, Jerry had then told George he gave him an even better project. He had to check his gaskets and whatnot. But the Rosses then call George, and they say they want to go to his place in the Hamptons. But of course, here's the thing. They know George does not have a place in the Hamptons because of Elaine. And when Elaine said something to George, and George realized that, he knew that they knew. So he basically wanted to, take them for a ride to the Hamptons and test them to see who can crack first. After all the opportunities, everything that George threw at them, unfortunately, he was the one who ended up and cracked and said that there was no Hamptons, and that's when they admitted that they never liked George, and they also thought George was responsible for Susan's death. Then, of course, Jerry's and Kramer's storyline kind of intertwined. So Jerry was going down to Florida to visit his father for his birthday, and as a present, he was going to give him an electronic wizard. To which he first has to lie about saying he got a deal on it for $50 because if his father knew how expensive it was, his parents wouldn't accept it. They would say it's too much, as a lot of old people tend to do sometimes. So Jerry does that, but Kramer, though, joins him down there because Kramer's coffee table book somehow got the type of like a movie skit or something like that made out of it, and he was getting royalties based off of that. So he's saying that he's making a lot of money. He doesn't need to work for a long time, which he's really never worked, besides when he briefly went back to H&H Bagels a couple episodes ago. And when he worked in that one office where he really just got dragged in, people thought he worked together. But, you know, all that jazz. Anyways, though, but then, of course, he said he's going to retire because of that. And he moves down to Florida, right next door to Jerry's parents. And, of course, he walks into Jerry's parents' condo acting like it was Jerry's place. Which, by the way, is this a little bit of a continuity issue? Or didn't Jerry's parents get kicked out of the condo they were in because Morty got impeached as condo president? I was a little confused by that. But, of course, then while he's down there, him and Morty start talking about condo politics, and basically Kramer agrees to run for president in the upcoming election. Things were going good until Kramer got in trouble for walking barefoot in one of the clubhouses, which apparently is against the rules. And, you know, it's petty, but, you know, obviously it's, you know, it's like a cranky old person thing. Meanwhile, though, Morty was really liking his wizard, except all he was using it for was the tip calculator. Jerry was trying to get him to realize there's more you can do to it, but he kept this obsessed over the tip calculator. So to save Kramer from, you know, losing votes in the election, he says he's going to give everybody tip calculators. The problem was Jerry couldn't quite help him because Kramer didn't realize that Jerry lied to his father about how much it costs, and Jerry can't afford all those calculators. So instead, he got them a Willard, the Willards props, which was a knockoff of the Wizards, which could basically do just about everything a wizard can do except calculate tips. And unfortunately, people figured out that it wasn't a wizard, and Kramer did not win the election. And he was just like, well, back to New York I go. Then I guess he just gets up and leaves and heads back to his apartment in New York. And that's where he continued to reside until the finale. Of course, I'll talk about that in 9 more videos. But that's basically the gist of The Wizard. Elaine trying to find out what nationality her boyfriend was, which was a weird storyline I wasn't a fan of. George trying to get out of going to another foundation event by telling the Ross he had a place in the Hamptons, and the Ross was trying to manipulate him like crazy to get up there just to show that he didn't have a place in the Hamptons. Jerry getting his father a wizard for his birthday, and Kramer retiring to Florida. So it was decent, but you know, there was still that one storyline I wasn't a fan of. Any fun facts? Besides, of course, I mentioned the hot dog vendor, most of it being Kramer's friend FDR. Let me see all that. George's storyline about him saying he has a house in the Hamptons actually came from Samuel Bliss Cooper, who plays Daryl, Elaine's boyfriend in this episode, who had graduated from East Hampton High School, and he had a place in the Hamptons, I guess. Of course, one of George had also lied and said he had horses at his place in the Hamptons, and one of them was Prickly Pete, which was the name of one of Kramer's friends, Slippery Pete, which was similar to one of Kramer's friends, Slippery Pete, in the upcoming episode, The Frogger. But that's basically it for fun facts. But that's The Wizard. Another meh episode. Again, basically because of that one storyline. Next up, though, is the Burning episode. Jerry has to find out what this mysterious tractor story is because of the whole "it's me" thing. And we also see the return of Mickey as well. What's Mickey been up to? And also we find out a little fun fact about Putty. And George wants to go out on a high note. What does that all mean? We will find out next in the Burning episode. So guys, what were your thoughts on the Wizard episode? Make sure to leave your thoughts down in the comments section below. And be sure as always to slap a like on the video, subscribe for more content on my channel. Follow me on Twitter as well at DemandAirboy93. Until then guys, I'm checking out. I will catch you all later. Have a great rest of your night. Peace out, everybody.